Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Go check out my website at skyazrael.com for life coaching and mentoring. I'm in the shop, sitting on the bike, was doing a little bit of work with it. Got me thinking about the good old days. I've owned a motorcycle shop for a long time. The motorcycle industry right now, as we speak, is kind of like the Titanic. It is sinking. And there doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. Some people are hoping that maybe the electric industry, the electric side of the industry will pick up and maybe young people will get on bikes. And that's part of the problem, is that the Gen Z and millennials, even my own generation, younger generations are not interested in motorcycles statistically. And the industry is dying because of it. The heyday of the custom motorcycle scene, I would think, was the early 2000s. We started our motorcycle shop in Los Angeles in the year 2001. And we've always been a custom motorcycle shop. That's what Sinister City Motorcycles has always been, custom bikes. We moved the shop here to Daytona Beach, Florida in 2004, 2005, right around that era. The industry was going crazy. Orange County choppers had already been going and were worldwide. Jesse James was a household name. Indian Larry had pretty much just come out. I think Billy Lane had just come out. So there was like a second wave of custom motorcycle builders, and I was in that. Just good timing, I guess. And the industry was crazy. Everybody, like in the biker industry, customers, motorcycle shops, it was all about the custom bike, custom paint jobs, chrome, trying to make your bike different than the next guy. That was really a big part of it. Customers would come to me, and with each project, with each aspect of their bike, they would say, I want it to look different than the next guy. And I would laugh when it would come to paint jobs, because I don't care what kind of paint job you want. Think up a paint job off the top of your head. Be creative. Try to think up of a paint job and use all your creativity. I guarantee you somebody else has done it before. It's like tattoos. But nonetheless, that was the name of the game, that was the drive, was individuality, and people were really expressing themselves in some cool ways. For me, it was like an art form. To customize bikes was a way of creative expression. One of the best ways to promote a custom motorcycle shop, it's different if you have a dealership or a service shop where you're just doing oil changes, but if you're in the custom game, one of the best ways to promote your shop used to be entering in custom shows. Now, not just any custom show. You could go down to the bar on a Sunday and enter their show. Who cares, man? It's the national and international shows that make a difference. So the biggest show, which still exists, is called the Rat's Hole Custom Bike Show. And it's owned by, what is it, the Big Daddy Rat, his family. Was that Ed Roth? Some people are better at this history than me. It's an old show that's been around since the 70s. And it somehow got really, really big. Now, today, as we speak, it's nothing. A few bikes show up. The Rat's Hole show is nothing. It's so heartbreaking. But it used to be, back in my day. I sound old, you know, this gray hair. Early 2000s, the Rat's Hole was popping off. It would be a giant parking lot. Here in Daytona Beach was the biggest one. I don't know what Sturgis would be like, or Laconia. Daytona Beach, Bike Week, Rat's Hole Bike Show was where it was at. And they would take a parking lot up on Main Street, right out back of the Peabody Auditorium. Giant parking lot. They would fill it full of hundreds and hundreds of bikes and sandwich them in close. Way too many bikes. All the different classes, from small bikes to big bikes to radical extreme choppers. And You had to pay to get into the rat's hole, but it was worth it because you're going to be there for a while looking at all the bikes you've seen. This was before Facebook, so you weren't sitting there scrolling your feed looking at bikes. Like that's what I do when I go on Facebook, because I just sit and look at motorcycles. Back in the 2000s, early 2000s, it was just magazines. People had stacks and stacks of magazines. I had piles of chopper magazines and biker magazines and Easy Rider, Iron Horse, all of them. I had all of them. And you'd see all those bikes, all the bikes that you drool over. You'd see them at the show, at the Rat's Hole Bike Show, Daytona Beach. All the bike builders that you'd ever heard of. Every one of them, name one. All the biggest ones would be there. Arlen Ness, he would be there. Eddie Trotta, he would be there. Perowitz from up north, he would be there. Indian Larry, he would be there. I could just go on, and all of them. Even the younger ones, my generation. Jesse James is my generation. Billy Lane, Matt Hotch, Russell Mitchell. Eddie Rook, all of them. They'd all be in the parking lot, standing next to their bike. It was great. I used to love it. And there'd be tons of people, just customers, fans, media, magazine people from all over the nation. You'd stand next to your bike and people would stream by, and it seemed like every other person was somebody really interesting. I would just come back with business cards. This is back in the days of business cards. I would just get pockets full of business cards from different media people, different cool customers, potential customers, fans, just people walking by. The networking was astounding. It was just so cool. And you were guaranteed to get like a picture of your bike in a magazine or on TV. They had a couple TV shows that were about bikes and that would kind of report on the motorcycle scene, and they would go around with cameras. So you might, they weren't going to stop and fuck with us, but they might see us. I might be there in the background. It was really a cool scene. And you could go up to your favorite bike builder and they'd talk to you and you can get their autograph and chat with them. You could do that every year. I have friends of mine where I would mention, oh, I just met Arlen Ness. And they say, yeah, I talk to him every year. He's a great guy. I know him and his whole family. It's just from the show. This is what the Rat's Hole was all about, was just this biker unity. It was really a great scene. And then at the end of the day, you sit in the parking lot all day, talking to people, passing out cards, drumming up potential business, networking with other bike builders, making friends, sitting around with the editor of Easy Rider magazine, with Indian Larry, Jesse James, all these people. We're all just making friends. It's great. And then at the end of the day, you go into the Peabody Auditorium, and they have the trophies and all that. So I got second place in 2005. Which isn't nothing to laugh at. I didn't get first place. And I'll be honest, I've never gotten first place at the Rat's Hole. I've entered the Rat's Hole many times, I've never gotten first place. I've always gotten second place. I'm a second place kind of guy. I don't know what it is. I get second place, that's fine with me. I don't mind being number 2. I've always been kind of a shitty motherfucker anyways. I don't mind being number 2. I walked the stage that year and I got second place, and some of my competition cheered for me. And that really meant something to me, because it really kind of showed me that I was part of the community, I was part of the scene. I'm just some shithead ex-criminal drug addict from the ghetto of Los Angeles. Started this in my carport as a hobby after work. I was working at a construction company up in Hollywood. And I'd always just kind of had that mentality. I'm just a nobody. Just some idiot who doesn't know nothing about nothing, who's just wasting his time doing this. And here I am walking a stage with the biggest bike builders that have ever existed, saying, "Good going, Sky." It's one of the greatest moments of my life. I miss those days. Thanks for watching.